everybody. Your Royal Highness, Excellency, Sheikh Hamay bint Mohammed Al Khalifa, the President of the Bahraini Authority for the Culture and Antiquity, Excellency, Mr. Bayon Yong Lee, President of the UNESCO Executive Board, Excellencies, Minister, Ambassadors, Permanent Delegates to the UNESCO, Honorable Members of the World Heritage Committee, Honorable Delegates from States Parties to the UNESCO 1972 World Heritage Convention, Honorable Members of the Advisory Bodies, representative of specialized NGOs and private international and private institution dealing with world heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, it is indeed a great honor to greet you all here at the opening of this 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee held in Manama, the capital of my country, the Kingdom of Bahrain, under the high patronage of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, and warmly welcome you in making every effort to ensure that your stay is enjoyable and fruitful as possible. I wish to express my deep gratitude to Her Excellency Sheikh Hamay, and also I would like to express my deep gratitude to His Royal Highness Amir Sultan bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud for assistance kindly provided by his institution for the promotion of Arab language translation and contribution made for the Arabic translation during the committee session. I would like again to reiterate on behalf of Her Excellency Sheikh Hamay bint Mohammed Al Khalifa, President of the Bahrain Authority of Culture and Antiquities, my deep gratitude and appreciation in selecting Bahrain as the host of the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee. As you all know, Bahrain has 2 sites inscribed on the World Heritage list, and it is my hope that our busy schedule and agenda will allow you to visit the sites. As it was stated at the UN International Year for Cultural and Natural Heritage, World Heritage is our bridge from the past to the future. The credibility of the process must be absolute and at all stages, from the work of advisory bodies to the decision made by states parties who held a prime responsibility in this issue. It is vital to remember that the World Heritage Convention is an extraordinary normative instrument. It provides a global standard and contributes to international cooperation for heritage protection and promotion for the better understanding of cultural diversity. However, I must also stress that after 42 years of the implementation, the World Heritage Convention stands at a critical point. A number of issues have been identified by previous chairpersons, such as the interpretation of requirement and the criteria for inscription on the World Heritage List. Within the context of cultural diversity and values. Furthermore, the question of appropriate conservation and management for inscribed World Heritage sites is regularly raised, including threats faced by heritage such as the pressure caused by badly planned economic development and urban speculation. In addition, the recent increase of regional and national conflict and natural disasters posed serious problem to the international community. A lack of funds and technical capabilities hinder the essential rehabilitation for both the suffering population and the essential reconstruction of many sites. Many sites inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger. In many regions of the world, particularly the Middle East, the fragility of cultural heritage during time of conflict encounter challenges in ensuring that heritage is protected and preserved. We are often reminded that no single country, however powerful, can tackle the challenges alone. Therefore, it is UNESCO role within the World Heritage Committee to ensure that we move forward together. As your chairperson, I would like to stress one important point in our future discussion: the credibility of the process for the implementation of the operational guidelines that you have approved and which must be respected at all stages. From the efforts of the advisory bodies to the discussion made by the states parties, we are all held responsible for ensuring the sustainability of the convention and its credibility. I would like to take this opportunity to recall that the overall goals of the convention are to identify and protect properties of outstanding universal values and mobilize international support. At the heart of the system of the identification of the eligible properties, the selection of such sites of outstanding universal values has proven to be a very complex process These objectives has been expressed in all your meetings as well, ensuring a credible and balanced representation on the World Heritage List. It is my responsibility as your chairperson to evoke and mention this again. Le but ultime de la Convention du patrimoine mondial est bien entendu, une fois inscrit, l'obligation de protéger et de conserver ces sites culturels et naturels exceptionnels et extraordinaires au bénéfice de générations présentes et futures. Au cours de première année de sa mise en œuvre, le système de patrimoine mondial insistait plus particulièrement sur la réalisation de la liste. Les instruments de gestion et de suivi n'émergeaient que lentement et seulement à partir du moment où le comité a été confronté de façon évidente à des situations de sites en difficulté. L'inscription toute seule a prouvé qu'elle était insuffisante pour garantir la survie et la bonne gestion des sites du patrimoine mondial. C'est pourquoi je compte réellement sur votre compréhension et votre assistance pour faire de nos délibérations un exemple de qualité, de transparence et de professionnalisme. Ce que nous avons en commun, c'est notre mandat faisant appuyer les responsabilités officielles des États membres ainsi que l'engagement de communauté dans le partage de pratiques et en conjuguant les efforts pour une meilleure protection et une résilience de l'héritage culturel et naturel dont nous avons hérité. C'est la raison pour laquelle, au cours de vos précédentes sessions, vous avez invité le Forum des jeunes professionnels du patrimoine à participer à l'ouverture de vos travaux et nous avons fait le même cette année 2018 pour donner la voix aux jeunes générations. Nous avons bien écouté la précédente proclamation des jeunes qui déclarait la forte détermination des jeunes de transmettre avec énergie et passion le patrimoine mondial aux générations futures comme composant significatif de la communauté. La déclaration du jeune s'appliquait aussi à considérer le besoin d'un mécanisme pour les communautés locales et les jeunes afin qu'ils puissent être engagés dans le patrimoine mondial et le tourisme durable. En soulignant l'importance de la promotion du patrimoine local vivant. Oui, la Convention du patrimoine mondial et sa promotion représentaient un grand défi pour nous tous. Et c'est vers cet idéal de dialogue, de connaissance de l'autre et de paix qu'il nous entraîne tous en dépit de nos différences, de nos langues et de culture ou du passé. Nous participons les mêmes rêves et les mêmes espoirs, pour un meilleur futur. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before considering the admission of observers, I would like to give the floor to the director, Mrs. Roserer, for some general announcement. Mrs. Roserer.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to serve you, Madam Chair, and the whole committee. First of all, allow me to recall that the World Heritage Committee at its 35th session decided that the World Heritage Committee should be live streamed over the web. Therefore, the debates of our session will be live streamed through the address which appears hopefully on the screens now, and which is also available on the website on the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee. Secondly, allow me to indicate that UNESCO gratefully acknowledges the Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud Foundation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its generous contribution in support of Arabic interpretation for this session. We would also like to thank the Kingdom of Spain for providing Spanish interpretation for the duration of the meeting. And furthermore, many thanks to the authorities of China for the interpretation in Chinese, which will be available from the 29th of June to 2nd of July. In this regard, and this is very important for you, I would like to invite the Spanish, Arabic, and Chinese language speakers to choose in which working language, either English or French, they would like to see their interventions being reflected in the summary records of the session. Your choice should be indicated orally at the time of your first intervention. It should also be transmitted in writing to the Secretariat before the end of our working session this morning. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and you can proceed with item 2.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam the Director. We now turn our attention to the admission of observers, whose list is presented in document 2 in accordance with Article 8 of the rules of the procedure. For your information, this is a bilingual document. I would like to ask to the reporter if she has received any amendment on the draft decision procedure proposed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I would like to take this opportunity to wish a good morning to all colleagues. I haven't received any amendments on the draft decision, so you may wish to proceed to its adoption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reporter. Dear colleague, I have now to ask you if you agree to the presence of these observers throughout the session. Cuba, have the floor, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Primero deseo agradecer a las autoridades del Reino de Bahrein por la acogida que nos han dado en esta reunión del Comité de Patrimonio Mundial, también al Reino de España, que me permite hoy expresarme en la lengua de Cervantes. Y deseamos que pase usted a aprobar este proyecto, pero después queríamos hacer un comentario de orden procesal, pero esperaremos a que usted adopte este proyecto de decisión para hacer uso nuevamente de la palabra. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Is there any other? No? I see no objection. The participant of observer is agreed. Is agreed, huh? Yes.
She wants to take the floor.
Who?
Cuba.
Cuba, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Comprendemos que es una agenda, este comité tiene una agenda bastante abultada, que existe un procedimiento conforme está establecido para la presentación de enmiendas, proyectos de decisión y otros agregados, pero también nos gusta referirnos que en aquellos puntos donde haya un debate que amerite un proceso de modificación de algún párrafo, haremos uso de ese derecho. No es posible preverlo todo en esta planilla que gentilmente nos circula la Secretaría para definir cuáles serían nuestras intervenciones. Por eso yo le pediría y le agradecería su indulgencia para que al calor del debate, en caso de que en las negociaciones sea necesario enmendar algún párrafo que no implique una gran transformación del proyecto de decisión, usted tenga la indulgencia de permitirle a los miembros que así lo puedan expresar en referencia a la negociación que se haga en pantalla en las lenguas de trabajo. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. So we'll continue. Yeah, please, the Director.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I would like just to comment on the question of Cuba. It's actually under item 3. I wanted to come back to this procedure because there were some discussions on it in the Bureau. So with your permission, I will answer under item 3.
Thank you. So we move now to the item 3. We can now move to the review of the agenda and the timetable of our session, item 3A and 3B. I would like to invite Mrs. Rosler, the Director, to present the agenda and the timetable for the session as contained in document A3 and 3A and 3B. These documents should be read in conjunction with document INF 3A, reference 3, which contain the professional list of documents of our session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I would like to make a few comments on items 3A and 3B. Now, concerning the agenda of our session, let me indicate 2 points. First, it was decided to include the report on thematic studies into document 5A. In the past years, you had 2 separate documents, Secretariat's report and thematic studies. I will make the presentation together for a more coherent approach. Furthermore, there was a slight change to the original agenda approved by the committee at the last session regarding item 5C on the World Heritage Convention and sustainable development. Indeed, as the committee has decided to examine this matter in 2019, this item will be included in the next session, that means the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. Now, you also noticed that document 3B Ref has been issued recently because that was only a slight change for the hours of the opening session, which you had last night. And Madam Chair, we all enjoyed the opening session yesterday. Now, to come back to the question from Cuba, I would like to inform you that yesterday the first Bureau meeting was held, and a member of the Bureau requested to open for discussion another state of conservation report in addition to those are already included in document INF7 Ref. So the additional report is on Stonehenge, Avebury and associated sites in the UK. Consequently, the Secretariat will issue this document INF7 Ref 2 shortly. There was also a discussion on another site, but this is apparently not open for discussion. Now, in terms of the question from Cuba, and I would like to refer to your operational guidelines, which you have in front of you. It's actually Rule 23 in the Rules of Procedures. Rule 23.1, it says, at the request of any member of the committee supported by 2 other members, discussion of any motion, resolution or amendment may be suspended until the written text is circulated in the working languages to all committee members present. And also 23.3, new draft decisions or proposals and amendments should, wherever possible, be submitted to the Secretariat at least 24 hours before the discussion of the agenda item concerned. And the rapporteur will work with the Secretariat to distribute such draft decisions and proposals and amendments to all committee members in a timely manner. Now, allow me, dear ladies and gentlemen, to recall that due to the number of items on our agenda and the time constraints, Rule 22.2 of the Rules of Procedures, which grants the chairperson with the possibility to limit the time allowed to each speaker, will be applied if circumstances make this desirable. So the time for interventions will be limited to 3 minutes for committee members and 2 minutes for observers. In this regard, please note that we have a musical timer. I'm not sure about the music, Madam Chair, but we will see. To gauge interventions in place which will interrupt any speaker exceeding the recommended time limit. And concerning interventions by observers from civil society and NGOs, we strongly advise, if they wish to take the floor on the same topic, to hold consultations among them in order to prepare and deliver one single intervention. In order to save time as much as possible, we also appeal to you not to repeat, if possible, what other delegations have already said or elaborated on, and for making long congratulatory statements. That's mainly under item 8. Now, furthermore, official statements or declarations should be transmitted to the Secretariat in writing, hopefully electronically, as soon as they have been delivered, and in order to integrate them into the summary records of the session. For us, it's very important to have a truthful record of the summary of this session in the summary records. Now, we would also like to recall that the timing of the session should be respected, which means every morning at 10 a.m. and in the afternoon at 3 p.m. Please note that, as indicated in the timetable, the meeting of the Bureau will be held every morning from 9:30 to 10 a.m. as of tomorrow morning, because for today we didn't have a Bureau session in the morning because we had one yesterday. Furthermore, dear participants, allow me to remind you that bilateral consultations should take place outside the main conference room and not during the debates. This was specifically requested by some committee members last year. Also, I would like to kindly ask you to switch off mobile phones or put them in silent mode so not to disturb the proceedings. Please also be informed, and I guess that's a very important information, that there are no specific coffee breaks, but tea and coffee will be available throughout the day in the delegates' lounge just outside of this room. Last but not least, as it was indicated in the Bureau meeting yesterday, I also would like to remind the committee members that all amendments to draft decisions have to be submitted in advance, well before the discussion, to the rapporteur, Mrs. Anna Zeichner, whom I greet here on the podium, in writing, using the blue form, and preferably in an electronic version, at the following email address, and I hope it's behind me on the screen. If not, it's wh-rapporteur@unesco.org. The blue form template to be used will be sent to all committee members by email by the Secretariat. In this regard, we will consult each committee member delegation to get one email address to which the electronic version of this form can be sent for easy use. The electronic submission will facilitate and speed up the integration of texts in the relevant draft decisions at hand for your consideration. This blue form is available in the room in both French and English. It includes the email address I just mentioned. I would also like to encourage you as much as possible to avoid to submit substantial amendments immediately before the discussion of an item, to allow for transparent and informed discussion. Therefore, committee members should ensure that amendments are provided sufficiently in advance and at least 24 hours ahead of the examination of the concerned item, as provided in the Rules of Procedure, which I just read, to allow for their timely dissemination, both in paper copy and online on the website of the World Heritage Center, and this is very important for the process, to ensure also translation. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Roessler. I would like, if you have any comments, please, you are welcome. I saw Cuba and then Australia.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Sí, ciertamente el artículo 23.3 del reglamento habla de que hay que entregarlo 24 horas antes en la medida de lo posible, lo cual no excluye que si un Estado en el momento de la negociación necesita enmendar o hacer referencia a algún párrafo, pueda hacerlo. Esa fue mi pregunta. Conocemos el reglamento y sabemos que el 23.2 y el 23.3 establecen cuál es el procedimiento a seguir, pero el 23.3 dice muy claramente que es en la medida de lo posible, lo cual, reitero, no excluye que podamos hacerlo en la negociación, y esa era exactamente mi pregunta. Entonces, entiendo que podré hacerlo en caso de que algún párrafo haya que modificar algo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now, Australia, please.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and firstly, may Australia congratulate you on your election as chairperson of the World Heritage Committee. We thank the Kingdom of Bahrain for its generosity in hosting this committee meeting, and we very much look forward to experiencing the culture of your people while we're here in Manama. I wanted to foreshadow, and I think this is the right place because we're looking at the agenda, that Australia would like to suggest that the committee makes a small but important modification to the way it conducts its business under Agenda Item 8, the establishment of the World Heritage List and the list of World Heritage in danger. In recent years, we've observed the very positive approach to the committee's deliberations on Agenda Item 7 regarding the state of conservation of World Heritage properties, where the general decision under Agenda Item 7 has enabled a more strategic discussion and decisions on matters of the utmost importance to the World Heritage Convention, things such as climate change, illegal wildlife trade, emergency situations resulting from conflicts, to name just three. In a similar way, we believe there would be value in creating a place on the agenda for more strategic discussion about matters related to the nomination and inscription processes for the World Heritage List and for the list of World Heritage in danger. And so in making this point, I foreshadow that Australia will be submitting a draft decision in the next day or two for consideration by the committee to establish a general agenda item as I have just outlined. It'll be based on the points that I've just made, and it would enable the committee to look more strategically across the issues arising from the nomination and in danger listing processes and to discuss them rather than through case-by-case examples. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Bosnia.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Tout d'abord, nous voudrions remercier à travers vous, Madame la Présidente, le Royaume de Bahreïn pour votre magnifique hospitalité et pour excellente organisation de notre session. Et puisque c'est pour la première fois que la Bosnie-Herzégovine est en train de prendre la parole dans sa qualité d'un État membre de ce comité, nous aimerions répéter encore une fois à quel point la Bosnie-Herzégovine est honorée de faire partie et de participer dans cette instance prestigieuse de l'UNESCO. Nous entamons notre participation aux travaux du comité avec beaucoup d'humilité, beaucoup de modestie, mais aussi avec un grand sentiment de responsabilité. Et pendant notre mandat, nous ferons de notre mieux pour apporter notre petite pierre à cette magnifique construction qui est la Convention pour la protection du patrimoine mondial. Et nous voudrions finir en soutenant la proposition de nos collègues de l'Australie. Merci beaucoup.
Je vous remercie et maintenant je donne la parole du Norway. Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Norway takes the floor for the first time, I would like to congratulate you on your election as chair. I would also like to thank the Kingdom of Bahrain for its warm welcome. Norway welcomes and strongly supports Australia's proposal as it will strengthen the important discussion on nominations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Hungary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, we would like to congratulate Sheikh Haya Rashid Al Khalifa for her election as a chairperson. We are certain that under your able leadership, our committee will have very fruitful deliberations. We also wish to thank the Kingdom of Bahrain for its very warm hospitality and first-class organization of our meeting. Hungary, as a newly elected member to the World Heritage Committee, pledges to support your work and that of the Bureau, and we look forward to work closely in a spirit of cooperation and in full alignment with the scopes of the Convention with the other committee members, state parties, and all of the stakeholders. And as a result of this final statement, I would like to support Hungary, on behalf of the Hungarian delegation, the proposal of Australia to have a general decision on Agenda Point 8. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I join colleagues in congratulating you on your election as chair, and to thank the government of the Kingdom of Bahrain for the warm hospitality and the warm welcome. One of the key problems that we face in terms of managing and in terms of state of conservation is to realize that there are now common challenges that we have in different areas, and that some of these solutions are better drawn up by collective work and collective reflection. And therefore, in view of that, we support the proposal of Australia to have more thematic discussions on key areas that affect the World Heritage Sites, particularly under Item 8 of nominations.
Thank you very much. I give the floor now to Madam the Director to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The answer to Cuba is yes, of course, because it says if possible. And I just want to clarify, following the interventions by Australia and the other delegations, that these are not amendments to the agenda which is in front of you, but Australia made a suggestion to have a discussion and a draft decision under Item 8 or maybe 8B, depending when you come to this point, under Item 8 to have a general decision like we do for Item 7 on the agenda. So that's just to clarify the point for the agenda, and I think there are no further interventions, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 42(3)(a) and 42(3)(b). But before that, I give the floor to the reporter if she has any amendment or she received any amendments from the members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I haven't received any amendments on the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have to adopt. Yeah. If you don't have any objection, we can adopt the decision. So it's adopted. Now we move to item 4. Now we move to the item 4. Ladies and gentlemen, let us examine now item 4 of our agenda. As you know, Mr. Mohammed Jum'a was the reporter of the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, which was held last year in Krakow, Poland. Therefore, I have now the pleasure to invite Mr. Jum'a to present his report, which will highlight the main issues discussed during our last session. Now the floor to Mr. Jum'a. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chairperson, distinguished members of World Heritage Committee, ambassadors, delegates of state parties, dear delegates from Secretariat, advisory body, and participants of 42nd session of World Heritage Committee, good morning. Madam Chair, allow me also to convey my greetings to friends of the World Heritage Sites and colleagues who are watching and listening to the discussion of 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee through the streamings, which has been taking place for the 5th year continuous now. Madam Chairperson, it is with great pleasure that today I present my report of the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, which was generously hosted by Poland and held at the beautiful city of Krakow from 2nd to 7th July 2017. Distinguished committee members, it was an honor and indeed pleasure for allowing me to serve as a rapporteur of 41st sessions. I deeply thank you for having entrusted and elected me as a rapporteur, which was a challenging but important and rewarding job. I would also like to thank the Secretariat and the advisory body for their professional advice, support accorded to me that facilitate and smooth my proceeding of the session. Special thanks to Director of World Health Center, Dr. Mashid Rosla, and her extraordinary team for their earnest effort that made the 41st session and thus implementation of the 1972 Convention a success. Madam Chairperson, the 41st session was chaired by Professor Jacet Pushla, whose patience, kindness, tolerance, and wisdom were the part of the success of the first 41st committee session. The session was attended by 2,921 participants in total, including 792 representatives of state party, NGOs, and observers. Apart from 21 committee members, 103 delegates from state party also joined the session. During 10 days of intensive discussion, the committee deliberated on 235 decisions covering conventional diverse topics, including activity of the center, the state of conservation of property of the World Health List, nomination, revision of operational guidelines, and others. Madam Chairperson, as for the activity of the center, the committee took note with appreciation that the World Heritage Center successfully continued implementation of its activity in line with the midterm strategy 2014-21 and approved budget. It took note of the concrete result obtained in ensuring tangible heritage is identified, protected, monitored, and sustainably managed by member states, in particular through effective implementation of 1972 Convention. Furthermore, the committee welcomed the proactive role of the Center for enhancing the synergy among cultural and biodiversity-related conventions. It also congratulates the advisory body for their effort to mobilize additional funds, but also requested ICOMOS and IUCN to continue engaging in appropriate dialogue with a consultation with the state party for further enhance the overall transparency and decision-making in the working of the committee. The committee also took note of the support provided by the World Health Center and advisory body to state party in implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, but also called upon the state party to ensure that the sustainable development principles are mainstreamed into their national process related to the World Heritage in full respect of outstanding universal value. Regarding capacity building, the committee commended progress made so far in the implementation of the World Heritage Capacity Building Strategy, its accompanying World Heritage Capacity Building Program, and the capacity building activity carried out in 2016 and the beginning of 2017. It welcomed the progress made by category good centers and called upon interested stakeholders to support the activity. Madam Chairperson, the committee discussed a total of 47 state of conservation reports out of 154 submitted. An additional 2 property, Hebrew Al-Haril Old Town and Historical Center of Vienna, were added to the list of World Heritage property in danger, whereas other 3 were removed, namely Comoé National Park, Côte d'Ivoire, Galetai Monastery, Georgia, and Simeon National Park, Ethiopia. Thus, to date, the World Heritage List in danger comprise of 54 property, of which 38 are culture and 16 are natural. Madam Chairperson, the committee took a broad decision related to the list by recalling the importance of paragraph 172 operational guideline, deploring the conflict situation prevailing in several countries, urging the state party to include risk mitigation measures but also reiterating the need to promote better understanding of the implication of the inscribing property on the on the list of World Heritage in danger. The committee also took note with appreciation the initiative of the chairperson of the 41st session of fostering a structural dialogue with the civil society. Madam Chairperson, at the 41st session, the committee also decided to inscribe on the list of World Heritage 21 new property and extended the boundary of the 8. The committee members were particularly happy with the fact that the Republic of Angola had its first property inscribed in the list in that session. Following the fruitful discussion in Krakow, the World Heritage List now has a total of 1,073 property, of which 832 are culture, 206 nature, and 35 mixed. Distinguished committee members, the committee also adopted the decision to launch third cycle of periodic reporting 2017-2022, following a 2-year reflection period between 2015 and 2017. This launching captured earlier recommendation of the working group on this item led by Mr. Christopher Young of improving the modalities of periodical reporting to update in line with various involving sectors such as sustainable development. The third cycle of periodic reporting is now set to start with the Arabic region in 2018. Madam Chairperson, the committee also endorsed the revised operational guideline and the proposed operation guideline and the proposed budget of the World Heritage Fund for the biennium 2018-2019. These decisions were guided by the recommendation of the 2 ad hoc groups. The first group, chaired by Mr. Jad Tabet, the distinguished delegate from Lebanon, revised the paragraph 68, chapter 5, and Annex 7 operation guideline related to tentative list. The second group, led by Mr. Jesus Enrique Casillas, distinguished delegate of Philippines, deliberated on sustainability of the World Heritage Fund by integrating a set of short, medium, long-term measures and action that will lead to a more desirable level of funding and efficiency. Madam Chairperson, such an enormous amount of work would not have been possible without the remarkable dedication and effort of Secretariat and committee members. Madam Chairperson, allow me once again to register my gratitude to the committee members, the Secretariat, advisory body, as well as state party to the convention for their support that facilitated a successful accomplishment of my responsibilities and as a rapporteur for 45 session. Finally, Madam Chairperson, allow me to take this precious opportunity to congratulate and commend my successor, Mrs. Anna Zeshma from Delegation of Hungary, for her appointment as a rapporteur of the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee. I ensure her full support during execution of his noble responsibility, which I have no doubt without reservation that she will accomplish successfully. I wish all the members of the 42nd Committee success and thanks the Kingdom of Bahrain for the wonderful hospitality and the warm welcome of this session. Thank you very much. In Tanzania, Madam Chair, I would say asante sana.
Mr. Jum'at, thank you very much for your excellent and very clear report. And I just now invite you if you have any comments. Is there any comments? No? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now I suggest that the committee take note of the report by the rapporteur of the 41st session. Is there any objection? Okay. So we adopt it. I thank you very much. I now close item 4 of the agenda. Now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rossler regarding the constitution of the consultative body for the review of the budget.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As you will remember, the committee established by Decision 35-12B a standing consultative body for review of the committee's biannual budget in conformity with Article 20 of the Rules of Procedure. This consultative body is open to all states parties that wish to, including states non-members of the World Heritage Committee. I would also like to recall that the advisory bodies will have the possibility to attend this working group as observers. Furthermore, based on last year's practice and with a view to avoid heavy agendas, it is suggested to the committee to reduce the length of this working group to 4 days in view of improving the efficiency of the committee's work instead of being held for the duration of the whole session. Therefore, and if the proposal is then agreeable to the committee, we can propose that the working group meets from Tuesday 26th to Friday 29th. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think you need to now designate the president of the group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. Is there any objection on the proposal? No? Yeah. So, furthermore, as you know, as per Rule 20.2 of the Rules of Procedure, it is of the responsibility of the group to elect the chairperson. However, I understand that some consultation already took place in this regard. Therefore, I would like to know if a delegation would like to make any participation in this respect. So I give the floor now to Hungary.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Our delegation wishes to nominate Mr. Rashad Baratli from the delegation of Azerbaijan as a chairperson of the budget working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Indonesia, now give the floor to Indonesia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since Indonesia is for the first time taking the floor, I would like to join other delegations in congratulating you as the chair of this important meeting, and also for the hospitality of the government of Bahrain rendered to our delegations. I would like to echo Hungary's proposals on the nominations of Mr. Rashad Baratli for delegations Azerbaijan as the chair of budget working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's fine. So I congratulate from myself also Mr. Rashad Baratli. I know him, I know his work. He is excellent and he deserves it. Thank you very much. Dear colleague, I would like now to give the floor to the director of the center, who will give us some indication related to the work of the consultative body. So I give the floor now to Mrs. Rosler, the director. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, as we said, the proposal is that the budget working group meets from Tuesday 26th to Friday 29th June from 2 to 3 p.m. 2 to 3 p.m. for the first 3 days, and on Friday from 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. because you don't have a morning session on Friday, and that will take place in the bureau room. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very Thank you very much. Now we will move to our next agenda item. Now we are in the item 12A. So we now turn our attention to the opening of the item 12A, which concern the follow-up to recommendations of evaluations and audits on working methods. Relevant working document is document 12A. Allow me to give the floor to Mrs. Roessler, the director, on this matter. Mrs. Roessler.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As you will remember, the committee at its 38th session in 2014 decided to establish an ad hoc working group to examine the issues related to working methods of the evaluation and decision-making processes of nominations. Since this date, the committee has met between sessions examining different matters in this framework, and I think you worked very hard between the sessions. Therefore, since our last session in Krakow, the ad hoc working group pursued the reflection on the implementation of the roadmap for the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, as well as on the definition of the upstream process and the effectiveness of the global strategy for a balanced and representative World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Roessler. Now,
in this regard, I'm pleased to vote.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in this regard, yes, in this regard, I would like to give the floor to the second chair, to the chair of the working group, Sheikh Khalifa Al Khalifa, and Mr. Baratli, who will report on the work of the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through its decision 41-9A and 41-12A, the World Heritage Committee extended the mandate of the ad hoc working group, composed of members of the committee and up to 2 non-members per electoral group, to review the definition of the upstream process in view of improving the effectiveness of the global strategy, as well as to discuss in consultation with the World Heritage Center, advisory bodies, as appropriate relevant stakeholders, the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, and to report to the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee, including recommendations on the following issues: elaboration of a comprehensive resource mobilization and communication strategy, further examination of the proposal to establish an informal core group on resource mobilization, including its mandate and modalities, study on how to examine the impact and scope of the Forum of Partners, analysis of the recommendations of the Internal Oversight Service, comparative mapping study, and the development of proposals in view of optimizing the use of resources of the World Heritage Fund, and discuss of the definition of the upstream process and the effectiveness of the global strategy for a balanced and representative World Heritage List. The ad hoc working group commenced its work on January 15 of this year, where it was agreed to divide the mandate of the working group into 2 subgroups, one on the review of the definition of the upstream process and the other on sustainability of the World Heritage Fund. Subsequent meetings took place on February 5th, March 5th, and 28th, April 23rd, May 16, and June 4th. An open-ended meeting for all state parties was held on May 18th. Representatives of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies participated in the meetings. In reference to the review of the definition of upstream process, the ad hoc working group took note of the background information and online survey results and recalled the upstream process pilot projects, those that resulted with inscriptions on the World Heritage List and the 2 that were phased out, and the remaining 5 are advancing at different pace. Regardless of the results, our pilot projects improved the dialogue. The group highlighted that even though the global strategy had reached the mature age of 24 years, almost nothing had changed in terms of statistics of the general distribution of World Heritage sites and of the cultural sites over the natural or mixed ones. The only tangible change, although not increasing the credibility of the World Heritage List, was the elaboration of new types of heritage categories. Nevertheless, upstream process can be an effective tool to support the global strategy. If the number of upstream process requests exceed the capacity of the institutions involved to implement them, the prioritization system, as set out in paragraph 61C of the operational guidelines, should apply. The group considered that upstream process would be most beneficial if it started at the earliest stage of the nomination process. Any consultation after the submission of the nomination file should not be regarded as an upstream, but rather as midstream. It is a voluntary and advisory process. For the credibility of the World Heritage Convention, state parties are strongly encouraged to respect the advice resulting from the upstream process. The advice provided during the upstream process should be an institutional opinion rather than an individual expert opinion. The group aimed at having a general definition adopted, increasing the efficiency of the upstream process. A drafting group was created to work on the definition, taking into consideration all above discussions. The group proposes the below definition of upstream process to be included in the footnote of paragraph 122 of the operational guideline, which states, in relation to the nomination of sites for the inscription on the World Heritage List, the upstream process comprises advice, consultation, and analysis that occurs prior to the preparation of a nomination and is aimed at reducing the number of nominations that experience significant problems during the evaluation process. The basic principle of the upstream process is to enable the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center to provide guidance and capacity building directly to state parties throughout the whole process leading up to the preparations of a possible World Heritage nomination. For the upstream support to be effective, it should be undertaken from the earliest stage in the nomination process, at the moment of the preparation or revision of a state party's tentative list. The purpose of the advice given in the context of a nomination is limited to providing guidance on the technical merit of the nomination and the technical framework needed in order to offer the state parties the essential tools to enable it or them to assess the feasibility and or action necessary to prepare a possible nomination. Requests for the upstream process shall be submitted through the official format, Annex 15 of the operational guidelines. Should the number of requests exceed the capacity, then the prioritization system, as per paragraph 61C, will be applied. The group wishes to express its desire of improving the quality of nomination. The upstream process can become an effective tool to decrease the amount of committee decisions deviating from advisory bodies' advice. In order to achieve this objective, the potential of re-evaluating the nomination process should be explored. Contributing to the improved quality of nominations, upstream process could be integrated in the multiple-stage nomination process and could be considered as the first stage. The scope of the upstream process can be further extended to be a capacity-building tool. The advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center may involve UNESCO field offices and Category 2 centers when needed. The ad hoc advises the mandate of the ad hoc working group be extended to evaluate the nomination cycle, the results of which will be presented in the committee during the 43rd session. Furthermore, the group would like to highlight the importance of the global strategy for a balanced and representative World Heritage List, and the committee may wish to extend the mandate of the ad hoc working group further to re-evaluate the global strategy in overall with its successes and failures. And I'll now leave it to my colleague, Mr. Rashad, to express the other subgroup.
Thanks so much. So as it was mentioned earlier, in our subgroup on sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, we had mainly 4 items on our agenda item. So with your permission, I'll go one by one. The first one was the elaboration of a comprehensive resource mobilization and communication strategy. Since beginning of the discussions, the group has decided that the most efficient way is to approach this issue on with a two-phase approach. First, to elaborate kind of a guidance framework document, strategy document, and on a second phase, to elaborate a more concrete and operational document. So during the discussions, it was agreed that the group will work mainly on the resource mobilization and communication strategy framework document, and I'm glad to say here that the group was successful in preparation of the draft of this document. And the expected outcomes under this item from the committee is possibly to endorse the prepared framework document of the strategy and to invite Secretariat with a close cooperation with state members, state parties and other stakeholders to prepare resource mobilization and communication plan to be developed by Secretariat, as I said, for the 43rd session of the committee to be held next year. Also, I would like to emphasize here that throughout all discussion, the group strongly referred to the roadmap for sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, which was approved by the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee held in Krakow 2017 last year. So the second item in our agenda was further examination of the proposal to establish an informal core group on resource mobilization, including its mandate and modalities. The group has discussed this point, of course, and it was mentioned by several members of the group that through creation by the decision of the committee, it will already give certain formal structure to this group. So it will be very difficult to avoid the formal structure of the group and to keep it really informal. So it was finally, after long discussions, it was suggested that instead of creating such an informal core group, it would be more useful to invite state parties actively assist Secretariat and UNESCO in World Heritage raising awareness and raising funds. So that's why the expected outcomes within this item is to invite state parties to assist Secretariat in fundraising activities. And it's, by the way, included in the draft decision which is prepared by the group, and the proposed outcomes which is also included in the document 12A. The third point discussed within our group was study on how to maximize the impact and scope of the formal partners. We had a long discussion on this item. Several issues were addressed, such as who is the target audience, what should be the appropriate venue for such a big event, who should be invited to such an event, and of course, what are the main goals and outcomes of this event. After long discussions, it was agreed that we need first a guiding document, which is in our case is a strategy on mobilization and communication strategy. So in first place, it's more efficient to have this strategy approved with its plan, operational plan, and then we can think of a big event, such a forum of partners, where we have all targets and modalities clearly defined. But at the same time, having said that, group has mentioned that parallelly we can think of more smaller scale events based on the marketplace which is prepared by Secretariat and which groups find very useful. And the final point on our agenda was analysis of the recommendations of the Internal Oversight Service IOS comparative mapping study and the development of the proposals in view of optimizing the use of the resources of the World Heritage Fund. So as you may know, IOS mapping study has mainly 4 recommendations in its final document. So group decided to address each of recommendations separately. The first recommendation was concerning the overhead costs. And after listening carefully to all present stakeholders, namely advisory bodies and also comments by Secretariat, the group decided that the reducing or avoiding overhead costs does not contribute to any meaningful savings. So in this regard, the outcome recommendation is to keep the current practice of overhead costs in the contracts of the advisory bodies, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have any meaningful saving contribution. And also, the second important point here is that reducing can somehow has a negative maybe impact on the work or the current work cycle of the advisory bodies as well. So the second recommendation of IOS mapping study was legal advice on sourcing advisory services. So as was requested by this recommendation, the ad hoc working group requested Secretariat to present us a legal opinion on this issue. The legal office of UNESCO has prepared a summary legal advice on this point, which was presented to the group, which I just want to cite some part from the summary advice. Neither the convention nor the operational guidelines compel the committee to use only ICROM, IUCN, and ICOMOS to provide advisory services. So it's just a part of the summary advice. By the way, summary advice is attached as an annex to our final document in 12A. So after a long discussion on these points, majority of the group, taking into account the quality argument of the services provided and long period of experience of partnership with these 3 advisory bodies, proposed to continue to use the services of the current 3 advisory bodies. So majority of the group was in favor of this idea, but at the same time we had some ideas by some members of the group that there may be in future the need for further discussions on the modalities for use of services of other entities with suitable profile. So the outcome recommendation in regards to this point is that to keep the services of the, continue to use the services of the current three advisory bodies with possible future discussions on this item in the future. The third recommendation was about defining the World Heritage Committee to identify the root causes for committee decisions deviating from advisory bodies' advice procured at a significant cost to the World Heritage Fund and take action to address them. Well, since the very beginning of the discussions, group has concluded and had a consensus view on the point that it will be very difficult, a short period of time, to come up with possible solutions and to address these problems. But however, we discussed the main root causes and identified main three root causes in this regard. These are political interests and pressure given the huge financial and human investment in the preparation of nominations, a complicated nomination preparation process, and differences in scientific opinion. So group has discussed several possible way outs in this regard, what we can do in order to solve and address these issues. But again, because of short period of time, we could not come up with a solid solution to the problems. And it is recommended in the final outcome recommendations of the group that committee may wish to extend the ad hoc working group and may wish to include this item on reform and change on nomination process to his agenda of the extended ad hoc working group. Of course, it will be further discussed in the committee session. And the final IOS recommendation was on modalities and changing working methods to generate more efficiency. Mainly three points were touched upon this recommendation. One is a nomination process, second, international assistance, and third is reactive monitoring mission. So regarding the first, as I said earlier, it was concluded that it's better to further discuss it in a possible extended mandate of the ad hoc working group. And regarding the two other, group has come up with certain recommendations. Just in short, we have one proposal on international assistance, which we expect to discuss during the subgroup, subgroup on the budget following days. And the other one is a recommendation on reactive monitoring mission. It's about using the regional experts where necessary and if it doesn't have a negative impact on the quality of the service provided. It's also reflected in our final outcome documents. And just to finalize my presentation, I want to emphasize that we also had a proposal proposed by Delegation of Norway during our discussions. In short, it's cost-sharing modality for evaluation of nominations. It is widely reflected in our outcome document. The very brief idea is a payment of an upfront fixed fee to the World Heritage Fund by all state parties submitting new nominations. Of course, there are certain modalities to be addressed, which are still, we are working on this parallelly. And there are, of course, in the idea, there are exceptions for certain categories of states, which are mentioned in the final outcome document. It is projected that possible saving out of this proposal can be nearly 700,000 US dollars if this can be implemented. So I think it's a short outcome of our work. Thanks so much, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baradli. Thank you very much, Khalifa, for your information and for your report. And now I give the floor to Mrs. Rosler to give us a further information in this regard.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It is now proposed that you leave item 12A open to allow for further discussion in the committee and consultation, notably on matters which will be discussed during the working group on the budget that you have just constituted. This will allow to prepare and adopt an agreed decision on Tuesday, 3rd of July, as foreseen in our timetable. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for this explanation. Then now item 12A will remain open, and we will go to the next item, which is for item 5A. So the next item concerning the report of the World Heritage Center on the activities, which is contained in document 5A. The report of the World Heritage Center on the activities will be introduced by the director, Mrs. Rosler. I would like to give now the floor to the director to give us an idea about the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And as I said in the beginning, it may be this year a little bit longer because we have integrated also the report on the thematic programs. Now, it's a pleasure for me to give you an overview of what we have been doing since the last session of the World Heritage Committee. I just would like to recall that the Center comprises of 5 regional units supporting the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. And at the beginning of 2018, a new unit called the World Heritage Nature, Sustainable Tourism and Outreach Unit was established following the creation of a new post to strengthen the center's capacities in the field of natural heritage. That was actually one of your requests to us. The number of posts financed through the regular and extra budgetary funding sources has decreased over the years, while the number of properties has increased, and you have currently 1,073 sites. And the tasks of the World Heritage Center have constantly increased. We are now facing a situation that is no longer sustainable, as explained already during the information session on 17th May 2018. In this regard, I would like to very much thank the delegations of and the governments of Germany, Hungary, Japan, Norway, the Republic of Korea, Sweden, Turkey and Qatar for their staff support with secondments, junior professional officers, associate experts or non-reimbursable loans. Next slide. The activities of the World Heritage Center are fully in line with the medium-term strategy and approved program and budget of UNESCO, the 38C5, of course. As you know, that the World Heritage Convention, for the World Heritage Convention, one expected result was established: tangible heritage identified, protected, monitored, and sustainably managed by member states, in particular through the effective implementation of the World Heritage Convention. We have 5 very clear performance indicators that have been developed to track progress and the achievements for this expected result. While the performance indicators focus on quantitative information, this presentation will also provide concrete examples to illustrate how the Center has worked with states, parties, advisory bodies, and many stakeholders to identify, protect, monitor, and sustainably manage World Heritage. Now, on the governing bodies, the key outcomes of the last session are as follows. We prepared 47 documents. The committee adopted 238 decisions. The committee examined 154 state of conservation reports and inscribed 21 new properties. And the decisions report and the video recordings are fully available on the website at the World Heritage Center, as well as in the summary records. You have already heard that you had 2 working groups during the 41st session from the rapporteur, so I don't need to go into detail. But I would also like to highlight that we continue to have briefing and information sessions for newly elected committee members in November 2017, in May 2018, and an orientation session yesterday, which were prepared by the Center and the advisory bodies to support committee members and state parties in the preparation of this session. On the topic of capacity building, we implemented activities in all regions of the world, and I can only highlight a very few. In Africa, the partnership between the Center and the African World Heritage Fund has been further developed. A workshop was organized on the development of World Heritage curricula in African educational institutions in April 2018 in Zimbabwe, with over 30 participants from universities in English-speaking African countries. In Latin America and the Caribbean, a capacity-building strategy was developed by state parties of Mexico and Central America on various priority areas as defined in the Action Plan for World Heritage in Mexico and Central America, PAMAC, 2018 to 2023, such as communities, tourism, and sustainable approaches to heritage management. On nominations, we reached 1,073 properties, of which 832 are cultural, 206 natural, and 35 mixed, and you have 45 properties on a list of World Heritage in danger, which require specific attention. Now, the Center continuously supports state parties in the process of updating tentative lists and provides advice and information on good practices concerning the elaboration of nomination files. For example, in the Arab region, a regional workshop was organized on the World Heritage nomination process in Djerba in Tunisia to strengthen capacities of heritage managers and professionals in the preparation of nomination proposals. For Europe, the Center and the advisory bodies continue to provide upstream assistance in the framework of the pilot project on the natural and cultural heritage of the Ohrid region, Albania and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. And in this regard, one transboundary platform meeting was organized on finalizing the management planning documents for the existing World Heritage property and the proposed extension. The Center also provided support to the IUCN-led project identifying potential marine sites of outstanding universal value in the Arctic region, and the publication of Natural Marine World Heritage in the Arctic Ocean was launched in 2017. Now, on sustainable development, you recall that the General Assembly in 2015 adopted the policy of the integration of a sustainable development perspective into the processes of the World Heritage Convention. And I think this is a very important document for all of us, and the Center endeavors to mainstream sustainable development in all its activities. For example, the revised periodic reporting format has taken fully on board the principles of this policy and the 2030 agenda and embedded them throughout the questionnaire, as well as the proposed monitoring indicators list and the analytical framework. In Africa, further to the operational action plan resulting from the international conference Safeguarding African World Heritage as a Driver for Sustainable Development, held in Arusha 2016, and the Ngorongoro Declaration, several community-based heritage conservation projects have been developed. They included sites such as the city of St. Louis in Senegal, the cliff of Bandiagara in the land of the Dogons in Mali, and the royal palaces of Abomey in Benin. In February 2018, UNESCO launched a publication entitled World Heritage for Sustainable Development in Africa, which aims to present and analyze different experiences from World Heritage sites in Africa that demonstrate the extent to which they serve as a motor for development. Sustainable development policies and approaches have also been mainstreamed into the Center's activities in the Arab region. In particular, focus was given for the integration of sustainable development policies in the management of sites facing urban growth, pressures such as Petra in Jordan, and sites facing social and economic challenges. To this end, an expert meeting on the conservation and revitalization of the Kasbah of Algiers was jointly organized with the Algerian Ministry of Culture in January 2018. On conservation, you are well aware that this convention is key to conservation, and during this session the committee will examine 157 reports that were prepared by the Center with the advisory bodies, including on the 54 sites on the list of World Heritage in danger. All state of conservation reports are integrated into an online World Heritage State of Conservation information system. This system now offers over 3,600 state of conservation reports on 564 properties and is receiving growing attention. It just exceeded 1 million page views. Conservation projects are ongoing in many states parties in Africa, and international assistance was provided to Sukor Cultural Landscape in Nigeria, Niokolo-Koba National Park in Senegal, Cidade Velha Historic Center of Ribeira Grande in Cabo Verde, and Kunta Kinte Island and related sites in the Gambia for conservation and management activities. As for the Asian-Pacific region, in September 2017, UNESCO convened a 3-day technical meeting followed by a public symposium in Tokyo, Japan, entitled The Future of the Bamyan Buddhas Status, the Technical Considerations and Potential Effects on Authenticity and Outstanding Universal Value. While no final decision was made at this meeting concerning the potential reconstruction of any Buddha statues, I think it marked an important step forward in the international technical discussion. And I believe under item 7 we come back to the discussions on reconstruction. In the Latin America and Caribbean region, after the severe earthquakes of last September in Mexico, emergency international assistance requests were approved for 3 of the most affected properties in the countries, which were the historic center of Puebla, the historic center of Mexico City and Xochimilco, and the early 16th century monasteries and on the slopes of Popocatépetl. Now, on the thematic priorities, following decision 41.5a.4 on thematic studies on criterion 6 and memory sites were conducted through the financial support of Germany and the Republic of Korea. 2 reports were prepared by working groups, including experts from different regions of the world and diverse experience on the guidance and capacity building for the recognition of associate values using World Heritage Criterion 6 and on the interpretation of sites of memory. These included specific recommendations which were made available online on the webpage of the Center, and the whole afternoon was actually dedicated on 17th of May on the presentation and discussions of the results after our information meeting at UNESCO. I'm very grateful to all the delegations for their attendance and the discussions we had so far. In this regard, and in response to concerns that a number of World Heritage nominations might be submitted in the near future related to sites associated with memories and conflicts, and in the absence of clear parameters of how such sites relate to the World Heritage Convention, ICOMOS also prepared a discussion paper on evaluations of World Heritage nominations related to sites associated with memories of recent conflicts. And this was also presented and is available on the website. Actually, you will have a side event during this session with the authors of these studies so that you can have further discussion. And in this regard, I would also like to mention that a publication was made by the delegation of Poland after the meeting we had on the Wannsee conference, and this concerns mainly the discussion on education and memory. In 2017, the Executive Board noted with satisfaction the development of UNESCO's policy on engaging with indigenous peoples as a living document. The policy includes specific references to the World Heritage Convention and provisions adopted by the World Heritage Committee and the General Assembly. And I think there will be further discussion on this, not only tonight in the side event by the indigenous peoples, but also for our future policy compendium. Now, on awareness raising, currently there are 115,000 members registered with the World Heritage Center website. This website is the most visited at UNESCO. It receives more than 1 million visits per month. This figure, which amounts to 39% of all visits of UNESCO's website, demonstrates growing global interest in World Heritage matters. The 2017-18 map was produced in collaboration with National Geographic Maps in English, French, Spanish and Arabic, and I would also specifically like to thank Bahrain for their support in producing this map. Thank you. Social media is being integrated more and more in the communication and outreach activities of the World Heritage Center and the Secretariat as a whole. Twitter, Facebook and Instagram are being used as not only as vehicles for disseminating information about World Heritage news, activities, competitions, calls for proposals, but also as platforms for capacity building. For example, with the aim of drawing attention to protecting the oceans from climate change, over 60 video messages from 30 World Heritage Marine sites were developed and shared across UNESCO's and World Heritage Sites social media using the hashtag #MyOceanPledge. Such practices will be certainly further developed and enhanced. As you know, the quarterly magazine World Heritage Review has a thematic focus for each issue and is available in print, app and online versions. I hope you enjoy reading it. As part of the awareness-raising activities related to illicit trafficking of cultural objects, the May 2018 issue of the review was dedicated to fighting illicit trade, which also included an article on the collaboration of the World Heritage Convention and CITES, the Convention on International Trade on Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Now on gender equality. Gender is one of the global priorities of UNESCO. The gender equality dimension is consistently integrated in the implementation of all our activities, also following the Sustainable Development Policy. One example of the approach is the Policy Compendium Working Group, for the establishment of which the criteria included gender parity, in addition to balanced geographical and cultural nature expertise representation. The same approach is applied to multimedia and animation products with a balanced representation of the characters, such as the animated videos prepared as training material for the third periodic reporting cycle. Now on synergies with other conventions. The synergies with other conventions and programs have been further enhanced by the Centre. At the 41st session, the committee adopted the revised periodic reporting format, which mainstreamed for the first time the synergies between World Heritage and other culture and biodiversity-related conventions and programs by integrating relevant questions in this regard further to a consultation with the secretariats of all relevant conventions and programs. The Centre also developed a new platform on the webpage in order to better reflect the synergies with other culture and biodiversity conventions and programs, and linking UNESCO designated sites. Now, the Cultural Conventions Liaison Group met regularly to review working methods, planning for statutory meetings, and coordinate funding and resource mobilization. In operational terms, in the Europe and North America region, for the first time, a joint mission was carried out in the framework of two culture conventions of UNESCO, the World Heritage Convention and the 2001 Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage, to the ancient city of Neseba in Bulgaria in November 2017. On the biodiversity-related conventions, we of course participated in the Biodiversity Liaison Group, the BLG, in September 2017 in Rome. We also supported the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands by joining the 2018 Wetlands Day. And also here you see a picture on the World Wildlife Day on 3rd of March on the theme of the protection of the big cats. It was also a pleasure for me to work more closely with CBD and their Executive Secretary, Mrs. Palmer, with whom I just had a working meeting a few days ago on 14th of June. We continued collaboration with a joint project with the Ramsar Convention Secretariat, which was concluded through a publication of a report, Ramsar and World Heritage Conventions Converging Towards Success. The report illustrates through case studies how conservation of culture and natural values can benefit from these designations. The Centre is also strengthening cooperation synergies with the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, especially on globally important agricultural heritage systems, GIAs, around activities to safeguard agricultural heritage, and a joint workshop, you can see it here, was held at UNESCO together with FAO. Now I come to the thematic programs. As you know, we have the World Heritage Cities Program, Sustainable Tourism Program, Small Islands, World Heritage Marine, Initiative on Astronomy, Religious Interest, and Urban Architecture. First, the World Heritage Cities Program. It has contributed to the elaboration and implementation of the 2011 recommendation on the historic urban landscape, the whole recommendation, which is really an important tool to strengthen UNESCO's action in the field of urban heritage conservation. In this regard, I would like to recall that there is a deadline of 31st of August 2018 for the reporting by all UNESCO member states on the whole recommendation, which enables us to do a consolidated report for 2019 for the General Conference. As an example of our work, a workshop was held in Šibenik in the Republic of Croatia in March 2018, which focused on means to implement the 2011 recommendation within World Heritage properties with significant presence of historic walls, fortifications, and fortified urban areas. New publications on Hull were also produced, such as the one here by Wittrup in China. On the World Heritage Sustainable Tourism Program, this created an international framework for the planning and sustainable management of tourism at World Heritage properties in order to protect outstanding universal value and achieve the sustainable economic development. We have a lot of activities, but you know the World Heritage Journey of the European Union, which finances this project. We have the Sustainable Tourism and Visitor Management Assessment Tool, a Sustainable Tourism Toolkit, and the UNESCO Seaborne Cruise Line Partnership. As you know, I already reported to the Executive Board of UNESCO in April 2018 on the follow-up to the Muscat Declaration on Tourism and Culture, Fostering Sustainable Development of December 2017, which strengthens synergies between tourism and culture. We also provided information on the outcomes of the pilot phase of the Sustainable Tourism Assessment Tool, and I'm very happy to inform you that a number of sites are test sites for the tourism tool, and the draft tool will be presented here while the public launch of the tool will take place in September 2018. Now, on Small Island States program, the SIDS program coordinates and develops World Heritage-related activities in the islands of the Caribbean, Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans. And we organized, for example, a capacity building workshop on heritage and environmental impact assessment for the Pacific Island states, jointly with a Category 2 center, Wittrup, in Suava and Levuka in Fiji in November 2017. Now, the World Heritage Marine Program has a mission to establish effective conservation of the existing World Heritage marine sites and marine areas with outstanding universal value and potential outstanding universal value. Currently, we have 49 marine properties around the globe. The program led the first global scientific assessment of climate change impacts on World Heritage coral reefs and communicated assessment results during several events. The program was instrumental in establishing a new 13 million Australian dollar project to develop climate change adaptation strategies across 5 initial marine World Heritage properties. Countries involved: Australia, Palau, France, and Belize, expected to be launched in July 2018. Children from 12 World Heritage marine properties addressed world leaders at the UN General Assembly on 8 June 2017 in New York, and to call for a reduction of climate emissions and step up ocean conservation. The event was a part of the high-level celebrations of the 2017 UN Oceans Conference. I think it may be one of the most successful programs in terms of funding, as it raised $1.2 million US in 2017 alone, mainly from the private sector, including high net worth individuals and governments of France, Monaco, and Flanders. And preparations also started to develop scientific research about World Heritage as a part of the United Nations Decade for Ocean Science, starting in 2020. The thematic initiative on astronomy and World Heritage aims to identify sites related to astronomical observations across all geographical regions, and following the MOU between UNESCO and the International Astronomical Union of 2008, we continue now through an official partnership. They have now consultative status established between UNESCO and the EAU in 2015, and among the activities are information and publications, such as the ICOMOS thematic study on heritage sites of astronomy and archaeoastronomy in the context of the World Heritage Convention. The initiative on heritage of religious interest is an example of a thematic approach in heritage conservation that is proposing new forms of action to promote social cohesion and a peaceful interaction among cultures. A number of expert meetings took place in Mediterranean, in Eastern Europe, and in the Asia-Pacific 2017-18, and these meetings discussed guiding principles for the elaboration of a thematic paper. An international expert meeting on astronomical heritage and sacred places took place just now, which actually links the two initiatives organized by the government of the Canary Islands with the support of the Ministry of Culture of Spain in May 2018, and the results are already uploaded on our web pages. Now finally, the World Heritage Earth and Architecture Program focus on the state of conservation and management of earth and architecture sites worldwide. The Center provides support to the main partner of the program, the International Center for Earth and Architecture, CRATEA, for the implementation of the program. Within this context, the International Conference Terra 2016, organized in July 2016 in Lyon, gathered 755 participants from 70 countries and mainly focused on issues dealing with sustainable development, particularly in urban areas. The outcome, which you see here on the screen, has just been published. As mentioned in the beginning, there are 5 annexes to the document 5A in front of you, which are also important to look at. First of all, Annex 1, the result-based report on activities undertaken by the Center for the period July 2017 to June 2018. Then the follow-up to all the decisions you have been taking at the 41st session in Krakow, Annex 2. Annex 3 is the World Heritage and Expert Other meetings from January 2018 to December 2018. That means those including those meetings which are planned throughout the year. The Annex 4 is the report on the authorization of the use of World Heritage emblem, and Annex 5, the inventory of World Heritage partnerships. This table provides an overview of partnerships with the private sector. Since the last report to the committee, 5 new partnerships were signed and 3 were renewed, while 4 partnerships were terminated. I would also like to draw your attention to Table 2 of this annex with the inventory of envisaged World Heritage partnerships as of February 2018, which contains a partnership which just has been signed, which covers the production of a series of 75 45-minute films about World Heritage sites and conservation challenges. I think this is very important for our awareness raising. I conclude on this positive note, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Director. It is it's extremely useful report, and I think it give us all a very good idea about the work of all the last year and our next session maybe work. So do you have any comments or any thing to say?
Yes, there are lots. We take the list first, huh?
We take the list first, yes.
Norway first. Yes.
Thank you.
Here. Where? There?
Spain.
Spain. Zimbabwe. Here. Azerbaijan. And there.
Panama is an observer, so I put them there.
Yeah. So we have a very long list. We'll start with Norway. Please, Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start by complimenting the Secretariat on its hard work and great achievements. Despite an unpredictable and challenging resource situation. There are two important points we should all keep in mind during this meeting. First of all, if there is no outstanding universal value, there is no World Heritage. As members of the World Heritage Committee, we bear a heavy responsibility in making sure that the OUV is defined and protected in all our decisions. The credibility of the Convention and the list is our responsibility. Last year, 2/3 of the decisions concerning nominations disregarded the scientific advice of our advisory bodies. And this year, I have a sincere hope that we can do better. Every discussion and conclusion by the committee must therefore be based on objective and scientific considerations, as stated in Section 23 of our operational guidelines. By being true to this, we will also be more able to achieve the global strategy goals of a more representative and balanced list. Furthermore, we will enhance its integrity since the equality between regions and teams will strengthen the relevance of and respect for the Convention. This is a starting point of Norway's work in the committee. This leads me to my second point, conservation before nomination. One of Norway's greatest concerns is that an unacceptable amount of human and financial resources is spent on recurring nominations. This means that the resources are taken from much-needed protection efforts and that there is a limited support for nominations by states that are currently underrepresented on the list. Conservation is key to the Convention. We hold a global responsibility to manage our unique and yet shared heritage in the best way possible, through actions and caretaking processes. That is how our money should be spent, and that is why we should choose conservation before nomination. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now the floor for China.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Since this is the first time I take the floor, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam Chairperson, for assuming this very important and yet challenging duty. I would also like to thank the host country, the Kingdom of Bahrain, for the generous hospitality and warm welcome extended to us all. We wish the conference every success. Thank you, Madam Director, for the comprehensive report on the World Heritage Center. China highly appreciates the efforts and all relevant activities undertaken by the World Heritage Center for the better implementation of the World Heritage Convention and the World Heritage Committee's decisions. As a committed state party to the Convention, China attaches the utmost importance to the core value of the Convention, preservation and the promotion of cultural and natural heritage, and has always been a strong supporter of the 1972 Convention. With the aim of better fulfillment of its mandates as a member of the World Heritage Committee, China stands ready to make greater contribution to support the underrepresented geographic regions in preparing nomination files, to continuously raise public awareness of heritage conservation and sustainable tourism, to further develop collaboration projects on the promotion of World Heritage Sites in coordination with the World Heritage Center, and to explore a better mechanism through the common efforts of the committee members and the World Heritage Center to effectively implement the committee's decisions. Among many important accomplishments in the report, China takes note of the helpful results of thematic studies on the interpretation of sites of memory and criteria 6 for the development of the World Heritage Program. We hope that these outcomes can be well utilized by member states. Madam Director, I would like to confirm that the Chinese delegation would like to have the interventions recorded in English. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Indonesia.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Indonesia thanked the World Heritage Center for its activities in furthering the goals of the World Heritage Convention. We appreciate the capacity building activities organized by the World Heritage Center, noting in particular the importance of capacity building activities to make sure that states have the necessary capacity to preserve World Heritages in their respective territories in accordance to the Convention. An increased capacity of states in preserving World Heritage will ease the works of advisory bodies in the preservation of World Heritage, as well as their financial pressures. We also take note on the discussions of interpretations of sites of memory, and we are of the view that it is necessary to continue further discussion to develop effective methods of interpretations and deliberations, in particular on the related cultural sites. From our side, Indonesia is pleased to host 2 training activities with respect to the preservation of the philosophical values of Subak Bali and the enhancement of comprehensive management of Komodo National Park. We therefore encourage the World Heritage Center to continue prioritizing capacity building activities and expressing Indonesia's hope to strengthen cooperation with the Center on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Tanzania representative.
Excellency Chair, the United Republic of Tanzania delegation, speaking on the first time, wishes to join the earlier distinguished delegates to congratulate you for being elected chair of this session. The United Republic of Tanzania delegation is committed to work with you under your guidance. The delegation of Tanzania also thanks the government of the Kingdom of Bahrain for their hospitality and the excellent facilities that have been put at our disposal. Excellency Chair, the report of the World Heritage Center presents the main activities conducted by the World Heritage Center and their results since the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee in Krakow, Poland in 2017. This delegate commends the work of the World Heritage Center for this informative and extensive report, particularly the attached annexes that clarifies the report. The United Republic of Tanzania notes with appreciation the involvement of Category 2 centers and the universities in their undertakings and encourages them to continue this involvement and participation of the universities, particularly those from the developing countries, because that is where the young generation is. Excellent Chair, the World Heritage Center on nominations, among others, reports that the committee at its 41st session in Krakow 2017, in 14 cases, the recommendation given by the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies were not followed as per the report. 7 referrals became inscriptions, 1 referral became an inscription, 1 referral became a referral, and 4 non-inscription became referrals, and 1 non-inscription became a referral. Excellent Chair, the United Republic of Tanzania, first and foremost, commends the Work Heritage Center for the successful implementation of the main activities undertaken and their results since the last session of the World Heritage Committee. The use of the format that was requested by the 37th session of the World Heritage Committee in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, 2013, particularly the complementary annexes. The proactive role for enhancing synergies between the Work Heritage Convention and the other culture and biodiversity-related convention. It also commends the World Heritage Center for the increased collaboration among the biodiversity-related conventions through the biodiversity liaison groups, joint statements, and awareness raising, and the initiatives on the undertaking of the thematic studies on the recognition of associative values using World Heritage criteria seats and on the interpretation of sites of memory. Your Excellent Chair, it is the opinion of the United Republic of Tanzania delegation that on the nomination decision process of the committee, the reported scenario by the World Heritage Center can have impacts, not only the credibility of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies, but also on the committee itself. For example, in the report above, it is noted that 7 difference became inscription, whereas in the same session, another difference became a referral, and the 4 non-inscription became referrals, where another non-inscription site was deferred. The Tanzania delegation takes note of the increasing trend in disparities in these decisions on nominations proposed for the advisory bodies against those taken by the committee, and they invite the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies to critically study this trend with an objective to develop clearer guidance for reducing these disparities to be approved by the committee. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the Zimbabwe delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe commends the World Heritage Center for the impressive work that it has done in following up the decisions of the committee and ensuring the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. We are particularly impressed by the number of activities that have been held to strengthen state parties in Africa in the areas of conservation as well as in building capacities. We are particularly, I would like to particularly mention that Zimbabwe hosted a meeting of tertiary educational institutions in Africa, which are the from the English-speaking group, to look at how they can have a common curriculum on World Heritage. This will be complemented by the work that has been done with the Francophone group, so that we have a common curriculum in World Heritage within the African continent. This will help us to have a group of experts and a pool of experts that we can work with, and those that can also be absorbed within the World Heritage Center itself and the advisory bodies. We compliment the Center for the creative partnerships that it has entered into, particularly with Category 2 centers and as well as with the private sector. We also thank those state parties who have provided extra budgetary support to enhance the activities of the center. Finally, we urge the center to develop more conservation and capacity building programs to follow up recommendations from the many thematic papers and workshops that it has hosted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to the representative of Spain. Angola, finish.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Quisiera, en primer lugar, unirme a los agradecimientos de mis colegas y felicitarla por su destacado papel presidiendo esta reunión. Agradecer también al Reino de Bahrain la calurosa acogida que nos ha dado a todos y sumarme también a las felicitaciones al Centro de Patrimonio por el espléndido trabajo que está haciendo en una situación muy compleja y que entendemos todos los Estados miembros. En ese sentido, quisiera también mostrar mi satisfacción por la referencia que se ha hecho a ese documento que tiene que marcar un poco nuestra línea de trabajo, que es la política para el desarrollo sostenible. Nosotros llevamos en España más de 30 años trabajando para subrayar que el patrimonio, que la cultura es un elemento esencial para el desarrollo. Y es por ello que todo este trabajo que estamos haciendo de conservación a partir de las deliberaciones, de las decisiones que tomamos en este comité, tiene que estar también focalizado en un desarrollo sostenible de las comunidades. Por eso, cuando hablamos de conservación antes de una nominación, para nosotros es conservación para, como decía la directora general, mantener nuestra identidad, conservación para permitir el desarrollo de las comunidades. Por ello quiero unirme a los llamamientos que han hecho Tanzania o Zimbabue sobre la necesidad de reforzar las asistencias técnicas, la capacitación, porque es a través de ese trabajo como puede no solamente lograrse una mayor representatividad en la lista de otros países, sino cómo puede ayudarse específicamente a lograr una mejor garantía y conservación de todos los sitios, sean o no patrimonio mundial. Por último, dos comentarios. Quiero reiterar el agradecimiento a la colaboración del Centro de Patrimonio para la organización de dos reuniones en áreas temáticas, como fue la reunión en Aranjuez sobre turismo sostenible, o otra más reciente, como fue el encuentro en Canarias sobre la astronomía y los lugares sagrados. Y por último, insistir en esta línea de trabajo de la cultura o el patrimonio y el desarrollo y recordar que celebraremos en noviembre una reunión, una cumbre sobre esta misma temática. Quiero también hacer un pequeño apunte, felicitar al Centro de Patrimonio por esa fantástica página web que permite hacer un gran seguimiento del estado de conservación y que es una herramienta de gran utilidad para todos nosotros los que trabajamos en este área. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to the representative of Angola.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Comme c'est pour la première fois que notre pays prend la parole, nous aimerons vous féliciter pour avoir été élue comme présidente de cette session et nous vous souhaitons du succès dans la conduite de nos travaux. Et également, nous remercions le Royaume de Bahreïn pour avoir accepté d'abriter cette 42e session du Comité de patrimoine mondial. L'Angola reconnaît et félicite les centres du patrimoine mondial pour le travail qui a été accompli durant ces derniers mois et surtout les activités qui ont été développées dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre des décisions de nos différents travaux au niveau du comité. Et nous aimerions en particulier renforcer ce qu'a dit déjà le Zimbabwe, la Tanzanie et d'autres États parties et d'autres États membres en ce qui concerne le renforcement de capacité. L'Angola appuie les initiatives dans ce sens afin que le centre, avec tout son réseau de partenaires, puisse continuer à développer ses activités, pas seulement au niveau de l'Afrique, mais au niveau de toutes les régions du monde. Mais nous aimerions ici mettre l'accent sur cette nouvelle initiative du programme concernant le patrimoine et les institutions éducatives. Comme l'a souligné le Zimbabwe, un atelier a eu lieu à Harare et nous encourageons les centres de poursuivre ces efforts au niveau d'autres régions en ce qui concerne le pays francophone et lusophone d'Afrique, car nous savons qu'avec ces programmes, certainement nous allons renforcer durablement l'expertise sur le terrain en impliquant de plus en plus de jeunes professionnels du patrimoine et des jeunes chercheurs sur la gestion des sites du patrimoine et d'autres types de biens du patrimoine. Et nous pensons qu'une telle innovation pourrait également inspirer d'autres régions en développement de pouvoir embrasser ce genre d'activités. Donc nous félicitons encore une fois de plus le travail qui a été accompli par les centres pour mettre en œuvre les décisions qui sont prises au niveau du comité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. As you know, the representatives of the Youth Professionals Forum are there with us this morning to present the declaration prepared during their meeting. I would therefore suggest to suspend our current discussion to listen to them. We will come back to the item 5A immediately at the beginning of our afternoon session. Thank you very much.
We give now the floor to Ernesto.
I now give the floor to Ernesto. ADG.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bon, comme vous savez, les jeunes sont les acteurs du changement par leur énergie, leur inventivité, leur capacité de mobiliser leurs pairs. Les jeunes sont les décideurs, savent sans doute de l'avenir de notre patrimoine immense et diversifié. Les jeunes sont les acteurs importants dans la vie des communautés qui sont conscients du fait que le patrimoine culturel n'appartient pas seulement au passé, mais aussi au futur, et qui est un élément essentiel pour l'identité. L'UNESCO considère les jeunes comme partenaires et parties prenantes. L'éducation des jeunes est une priorité pour l'UNESCO par sa stratégie opérationnelle pour la jeunesse 2014-2021. L'UNESCO favorise la construction d'un esprit critique et d'une identité ouverte à la compréhension de l'autre en faveur de la protection, la préservation et la conservation du patrimoine mondial auprès des jeunes. L'importance de cette jeunesse et le rôle de l'éducation sont reconnus par l'article 27 de la Convention concernant la protection du patrimoine mondial, culturel et naturel de 1972. Le programme dont on est en train de voir aujourd'hui le résultat est né en 1994 et c'est le programme d'éducation du patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO. Cette année, 30 jeunes de 30 pays différents ont pris parti à ce forum des jeunes où ils ont eu la possibilité de faire des ateliers, des tables rondes, des visites, des activités pratiques, des présentations d'experts et des échanges avec ces experts, des débats, et aussi, à la grande surprise de vous, une simulation du comité. Donc vous avez été représentés, les membres du comité, par ces jeunes pendant une formation, on nous a dit, dont les résultats ont été très surprenants. Les résultats de tout ce travail de cette semaine et les recommandations des jeunes professionnels ont été formulées sous la forme d'un message qui va être rendu par deux participants qui représentent le groupe, le participant de la Philippine et du Zimbabwe. Donc, félicitations une fois de plus pour l'engagement de ces jeunes et pour ce travail avec l'UNESCO. Merci.
As participants of the UNESCO World Heritage Young Professionals Forum 2018, Protecting Heritage in an Ever-Changing World, we would like to express our gratitude to the Kingdom of Bahrain, Sheikh Hamad bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, the President of the Bahrain Authority for Culture and Antiquities, Sheikh Haya Al Khalifa, Chairperson of the 42nd Session of the World Heritage Committee, Ms. Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, and Ms. Mertil Rosle, Director of the UNESCO World Heritage Center. We would also like to thank the organizing team from the Adrasis and the local and international experts who shared their valuable insights. Our thanks also go out to the people of Bahrain who shared their warm hospitality. This declaration has been informed by the interaction between young professionals from across the world. The world is undergoing rapid change, and there has never been a better time to actively involve young professionals in the management and protection of World Heritage then today. Globalization and rapid change have made the protection of heritage a challenge. However, we, as young professionals, also view this as an opportunity to reflect on diversity as a tool to celebrate our shared heritage. Education and communication are key parts of heritage protection and can help foster peace. It is important to consider the multiplicity of stories inherent in our heritage, document them in an engaging manner, and communicate them to communities in powerful ways so as to make them come alive in the minds of people across the world. This will also help secure the universal human right to culture. Since heritage conservation depends on our capacity to manage change, we call upon increased collaboration between institutions addressing climate change and those addressing cultural and natural heritage. We would like to express our concern about climate change and how the international community responds to this change at a global and national scale. There is a need for sustainable development in which heritage can be a source of economic growth. We encourage the World Heritage Committee to strengthen their efforts to promote the inscription of natural sites to the World Heritage List due to the lack of their representation. We believe the protection and conservation of our natural heritage will lead to a better understanding of the impacts of climate change on culture and nature through heritage interpretation and education.
We are hopeful that state parties will continue to adopt new technologies to mitigate the effects of climate change and that they will utilize traditional knowledge of local communities in this regard. The use of technological tools must be promoted to enhance the potential to share heritage globally and to improve its availability for conservation, documentation, and research. New technologies can help us to promote our shared heritage in more engaging ways. However, technology should not displace or replace heritage. We recognize that the involvement of the youth and local communities is vital for the sustainability of the convention and successful long-term conservation of heritage. We encourage the committee to manage the impact of tourism while simultaneously recognizing its benefits. There is room for increased community engagement and involvement, taking into account the diversity of these communities at every step of the decision-making process of the World Heritage Framework. The World Heritage Center and the state parties need to increase awareness of processes for the inscription and conservation of World Heritage sites. You must emphasize the human element in the protection of heritage and engagement. Non-governmental organizations and individuals from all the countries in the world should be able to communicate with UNESCO and share their concerns and their ideas for enhancing heritage protection and conservation. The Young Professionals Forum recognizes that the heritage is an ever-expanding and dynamic concept which has shaped the convention over the years, and that we must be prepared to adapt to these changes. We believe in the need for a more global understanding of heritage and recognize the values of cultures outside the protection of the World Heritage List. We emphasize the need for inclusive education encompassing traditional knowledge to holistically achieve the objectives of the convention and keep it relevant worldwide. We are confident that the convention will continue to inspire generations to protect and uphold the integrity of cultural heritage if communities, experts, and the youth continue to work together in this ever-changing world. We thank you.
nous allons voir une vidéo de 2 minutes sur le procès des jeunes. Merci.
I love heritage, and I love to see how much they've grown in the past 10 years from renovating buildings and enlisting World Heritage sites and such. So I love heritage, and I love to see how much they've grown in the past 10 years from renovating buildings and enlisting World Heritage sites and such.
So I was motivated to come to this forum because I wanted to learn new ways and how to protect my heritage, get other people's opinion, their view, their ideas, because they could also help me, or as well sharing the experience of other people who have been succeeding so far.
I liked a lot the process of choosing the lecturer, the variety of subjects provided in these workshops.
Hola.
Hola.
Mifon Ganjia.
Nei hao.
Au revoir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mabuhay. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Assalamu alaikum.
Sali Sali.
Ndeipi.
Namaskar from Incredible India.
Let's go.
I've learned a lot about new types of construction and new material and how to use them, and I really enjoyed the Berlin concept.
Well, I'm from the Philippines, and a lot of opportunities for cultural heritage are very limited. UNESCO had offered this, and I qualified. It was no question that I wanted to apply.
I am especially interested in this forum because I think one of the major threats that humanity is facing currently is climate change. Climate change is not just affecting natural sites but also like cultural sites.
The most important thing is to share the concept about how all together can protect the heritage.
The first thing when I saw the call was the subject protecting heritage in an ever-changing world. We are developing. The only thing that is our target right now is developing. So what of heritage? Then I said to myself, I really need to go and learn and explore.
Okay, now we thank the young people. And now, before we close our first, our morning session, I give the floor to the Secretariat. They have some announcement, and then we we resume at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's actually the first day of our committee, and we start our marathon of side events as well, not only the regular session. So I have the pleasure to announce the side events for today, the lunchtime break. There are 2 side events in the advisory body space, Manama room. One starts at 1:10 until 2 o'clock, and this is the presentation of the World Heritage Leadership Program, which is a capacity building program on people, nature, and culture. It's organized by ICROM, IUCN, and Norway. Manama room, AB space 110, and at 2:10, another event will take place in the same room. That's raising awareness on nature-culture linkages. And that's the University of Tsukuba and ICROM that organized this event. There are 2 exhibitions. You can see it on the screens. The first one is the Young Professional Forums exhibition. You have just seen the young people, young professionals. You have heard their inspiring message to you. And they have worked during this forum also to create an exhibition which is presented in the main lobby. There is a second exhibition the day after, Shadows of Heritage, organized by the Sharjah office of ICROM, and it's also in the exhibition area. With that, we have no more announcement to make for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we will come back. We will see you back at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much.